be talking about a new Avalanche shovel from BCA, the Dozer 2H. As you can see here, it is a shovel. Avalanche shovels serve many purposes beyond their primary task, digging people out of avalanches, including helping to build shelters, set up camp, as well as being able to dig into the snowpack for snow science measurements, determining avalanche stability, and a host of other tasks. While an avalanche shovel on its own is by no means sufficient for safe backcountry travel during the winter months, when you combine it with an avalanche probe, a transceiver, and some backcountry education, you're on your way to a good start. The Dozer 2H retails for about 90 Canadian dollars. Usual disclosure at this point, I paid for this shovel with my own money, and I am not affiliated with BCA. Taking a look at the Dozer 2H here, it's a pretty conventional design. It shares many of the characteristics of some of BCA's previous shovels, shared by other companies as well. First we have detachable blade as well as handle. Handle is extendable with kind of little attachment prongs that stick out and self-engage. Collapsed, extended, easy to do even with gloves on, and take pieces apart, so nice and packable. Looking at the blade of the shovel itself, a few key features that are quite nice. First off, if you see the edge, it's nice and flat. That's good for getting nice, smooth, straight walls on the edge of snow profiles, which helps for snow science measurements, get better data. Also to make square blocks, if you're building a shelter, something like an igloo, makes it easier. The material here is 6066 grade aluminum, so pretty solid, good for a lot of uses. Not as strong as steel, as you might find in more conventional kind of work shovels, but still definitely appropriate for just carrying in the backcountry, especially on longer trips when you wouldn't want to be carrying steel around. Comparing the other parts of the shovel, the shaft is also aluminum, nice and strong, with some aluminum bits on the handle, as well as some plastic parts. One of the main reasons why I chose this particular shovel was the handle here seems a bit more robust than my previous Avalanche shovel, which is also from BCA. The B2 EXT, which had a problem that this plastic component on the handle sheared off, rendering it quite useless. So the Dozer 2H handle looks a lot more sturdy, less kind of a critical points of stress focused on a rather small amount of plastic on the old shovel here. But I guess you can see my old shovel is quite similar to the new one. When extended, the shovel's good length. One of the primary attributes you actually have with any Avalanche shovel is how good is it at actually moving snow. This we'll evaluate outside in a few minutes here, but it's a good length to it. It seems quite sturdy, and I think it'll hold up pretty well. Probably the main special feature I'd say of the Dozer 2H is its ability to have both conventional shoveling as well as a hoe mode for moving snow towards you, kind of more in a sweeping rather than digging motion. That is accomplished by, here on the handle, we have another attachment point, which you can take off, put in here, and then there we have. This is able to function in a different way, move more snow, scrape things towards you. And in some ways, especially in strategic shoveling, if you have multiple people in an avalanche response all digging one person out at once, this can be kind of handy. And it still seems like it's quite rigid and it'll hold together well. In terms of talking about the mass of this shovel, I'll test it out here. What do we got? Got us a value of 0.74 kilograms, so 740 grams. So not the lightest shovel on the market by far, but it's a good weight, still quite packable. There are a lot of ways you can skimp on weight or minimize weight in certain aspects of backcountry travel, but a good sturdy shovel is not something you want to skimp on. You don't want something that's going to fall apart when you need it most. So in this case, I like the weight of the shovel, like the way it handles, and I think it'll perform quite well. You'll find, given the dimensions of this particular shovel, it packs down quite well. It can fit in the Avalanche pocket of any conventional either Avalanche airbag or just touring backpack, which has a Avalanche tool pocket. So it'll work with what you have. And yeah, with that, we'll take this out in the field and see how it performs in the snow.
I've used this shovel, the BCA Dozer 2H, for about 2 months now, both recreationally and professionally. I found a number of things I quite like about it, and a few things kind of gonna have to wait and see, but overall, it's a very good shovel. One feature that I really like about this shovel is the fact that the blade and the shaft integrate, so you don't have to actually depress any buttons to engage the two. What I mean in this case, you can pull it out and your shovel's ready to go. That saves a lot of precious time in an actual avalanche response, and just when you're using the shovel in regular activities, it saves a bit of time, makes it easier. One thing I have found, which the BCA Dozer 2H has in common with many other avalanche shovels, is the small metal attachment points here. If you get snow or ice buildup in them, particularly if you're camping on a multi-day trip, it can be harder to actually depress them to remove parts, which takes a little bit of time. Whenever possible, we want to dry this out just to make sure that doesn't become an issue. But it is a bit of a problem and can be when you're collapsing the shaft into its collapsed state. Sometimes if there is snow and ice built up in here, it won't really want to extend nicely. And that'll just be a process of trying to clear it out inside, which is easy to do and kind of a problem that's shared with all the avalanche shovels I've encountered, but good thing to keep in mind. In terms of durability, I've been using this shovel quite heavily for the last couple of months, doing a lot of activities including digging snow profiles, generally just excavating snow, building small structures like this chair around me, and found it has held up pretty well. Starting to get a little bit of wear just on the edge of the blade. I think that was from shoveling some particularly stubborn pieces of cornice. That'd be hard to avoid unless you go to a material that's harder than aluminum, but in that case you would have a lot more weight. Speaking of weight too, this, as I was alluding to in the studio, is a good mid-weight shovel. It's not the lightest, it's not the heaviest, and I like that kind of balance. It feels like you could use it for quite a long time and it will not break on you, unlike one of the ultra light shovel options you might encounter on the internet. And it's still not going to weigh you down. So those are both good things in my books. In terms of who this shovel is best suited for, I'd say pretty much any self-propelled backcountry traveler. It's not going to weigh you down too much. It is quite durable for its weight. It makes nice snow profiles due to this very smooth, sharp blade on the end. And generally, it's functional. It's a shovel. Not sure what more to say about that. Who is this shovel maybe not the best for? Say if you're part of an organized SAR team, actually responding to avalanches on a regular basis, you might want something a little more burlier, particularly going through really hard avalanche debris over time, you're going to get some wear on different parts of the shovel, and you want something a little beefier to get more longevity out of it. Another user group that this shovel might not be the best for would be super minimalists. Say you're an ice climber going on a big multi-pitch route and you're literally counting every gram, then you might want to pursue some of those ultra light options I was talking about. In general, I don't recommend that for durability, but there's always special cases. In terms of an overall rating for this shovel, I'd say it's pretty good. I haven't found much to complain about it. I like the regular shovel modes. Everything and using it seems to work pretty well. The hoe mode is really handy. Good way of moving a lot of soft snow. The only thing I could probably comment on is long-term durability. The same sort of attachment points here, these little spring-loaded metal triggers. On a previous shovel, I've had those over time wear out and in one case actually fall out of the shovel. And how durable the edge of the blade is here, just to keep having those nice sharp, clean edges on snow profiles over time. But accepting those things, I'm quite happy with it, and I'll be using this shovel for quite a long time to come. Yeah, in any case, that's it for now. Happy trails.